Lightning Literature is a comprehensive ELA program for elementary, middle grades, and high school. ELA means English Language Arts, and comprehensive refers to a program where all or most ELA elements are covered. We're looking at the elementary grades today. We affectionately call the course Lightning Lit. It's religiously neutral with low teacher prep and high teacher interaction. The literature foundation and flexibility with assignments gives it a Charlotte Mason element. And with read-alouds, student reading, and writing, this is also a multisensory program. It's a literature-based option with traditional components. The teacher guide helps you with daily lessons. The student work text is consumable, and then you have the literature. These are all necessary to use the program. We offer complete packages with the teacher, student, and all required literature, or you can purchase a literature-only bundle with a separate teacher book and student book. The teacher guide begins with a weekly table of contents at a glance. You can quickly see how much time is spent on each book. The author, Elizabeth Kameth, then tells you how to use the course. She explains her book choices, and there is always an emphasis on tailoring the lessons to your students' needs. At times, this may seem unguided, like when she tells you to write a rough draft after choosing your topic and making an outline. But her reason is to say whatever your child can do at this point is okay. If they can write a few sentences or a few paragraphs, it's okay. They are growing as a writer, and everyone has their own schedule for how this looks and progresses. In the teacher book, you feel like the author is really supporting you as a parent. If a novel addresses something difficult, she lets you know so you can teach it as you see fit. Answers are provided, and where replies will vary, you have a suggested answer. The student books are consumable and not reproducible. Weekly checklists show the student what lies ahead. Reading assignments with questions, vocabulary, grammar, and mechanics exercises are completed right in the student book. However, reading comprehension questions are more discussion-based in the lower levels. Most of your writing assignments will take place in a separate notebook. The student books are 3-hole punched and pages are perforated. Each grade level covers 36 weeks of lessons, Monday through Thursday. Fridays can be a day to finish things up, do an extension activity, or take a day off language arts. How long a lesson takes will depend on a few variables, such as how quickly your child reads, how much discussion you get into, how quickly they are able to write out their work, and such. That said, you can expect 30 to 45 minutes 4 times a week, give or take. Daily lessons include 3 things: literature, grammar and mechanics, and composition. Let's look at what makes this program comprehensive. You'll notice that a comprehensive ELA may cover some areas more thoroughly than others. Vocabulary is taught in the context of the books you're reading. However, spelling is less obvious. If you haven't seen Ruth's video, Building Language Arts, she talks about the 8 elements of language arts. I want to show how Lightning Literature incorporates these elements of ELA into their program. With the program beginning in grade 1, phonics instruction is not part of the lessons. The expectation is that children know all letters and sounds and can read simple sentences. Children's reading abilities will vary, and reading aloud is always permissible. Comprehension questions are presented differently by grade level, but they're always a teaching tool rather than a test. Penmanship is practiced, but not explicitly taught. In the student workbooks for grades 1 and 2, dotted half lines guide the writer. In grades 3 and 4, the lines are bold with plenty of space, but no half lines. And in grades 5 and 6, you have thinner lines and thinner space to write your response. Spelling words come from the stories. Add words to your dictionary pages at the back of the student book for grades 1 to 3. Grades 4 through 6 do not have the dictionary pages, so you might encourage your student to keep a small notebook of new words they encounter to look up later. It's up to the parent to make this into a spelling moment for the student. For some families, this works, but most parents will add a supplemental spelling program. Vocabulary. In relation to the literature, you are asked to define words in your own terms. Students extrapolate from the reading as well as using a dictionary to do this. Given the richness of the reading being read, discussed, and written about, your child is sure to grow their vocabulary. Grammar, usage, and mechanics. The author includes grammar, punctuation, capitalization, parts of speech, sentence diagramming, and occasional literary concepts under this heading. You'll often see a passage from the current reading selection used to demonstrate a grammar concept. These concepts are reviewed often in the context of the most recent reading assignment. Diagramming practice is clearly explained and not too intense. Composition. All instruction for writing assignments is in the teacher guide. Again, this should be tailored to your child's level. Work closely with them on the compositions and stress what they did well. You'll need a separate notebook for these assignments. Writing assignments are worked on all week, sometimes over 2 weeks. You can use your Fridays for finishing up if needed. Because you're walking them through the writing process daily, there's not a stressful moment where they turn in their finished paper. You're looking for what you discussed all week and providing feedback on how effectively this was achieved. Reading comprehension. Questions about the reading selections are found throughout the student work text. In lower grades, questions are discussed and the student dictates their answer to the teacher, who records them in the teacher book. In older grades, students respond in their workbook and a parent has suggested answers in theirs. Literary analysis goes deeper than basic reading comprehension. The student is now asked why and how type questions about the reading passages. You make comparisons and discuss how characters felt. You're delving into the author's motives. These are great discussion questions. When the answer is not clear-cut, the teacher book has a possible or best answer listed. If you'd like to see what a week of these 6 levels look like, keep watching. I chose week 10 of each grade so you can see how the levels progress. Each week includes 3 main sections: reading, grammar, and composition. You start the week with a student checklist page. As they complete a task, they check the box. It defines clear expectations for the week and develops time management skills for your student. Also, I use the terms teacher guide and teacher book interchangeably for the teacher edition. There's only one. Likewise, when I refer to the student book or workbook, it's the same book, only one teacher and one student in this program. In grade 1, we'll read a different classic children's book each week. That's right, you'll read 36 books this year. Look at all these wonderful books. Day 1, reading. Read the tale of Peter Rabbit. Ask your child the comprehension questions and record their answers in the teacher book. Grammar, we're looking at how to discern the moral of a story when it's not spelled out. Review some of the grammar and mechanics taught in the first 9 lessons. Composition. Discuss and write the moral of Peter Rabbit on the lines in the student workbook. This week, your child will write their own fable with a moral. Look at Aesop's fables for inspiration and choose a moral to develop a story around. Think about animals you can use as characters. Day 2, reading. Read the story using the guidelines in the teacher book of story, character, setting, external details, internal details, and conflict. For grammar, review capitalization. In the workbook, you see a list of 18 words. Circle the words that should start with a capital letter. Composition. In the workbook, tell us what the Peter Rabbit story is about on the 5 lines provided. For your own fable, determine 3 things that will happen: a beginning, middle, and an end. Write 3 sentences. Day 3, reading. Read the tale of Peter Rabbit. Ask your child the comprehension questions and record their answers in the teacher book. There's no assignment in the student book today. Grammar. Have your child choose 5 to 10 words to put in their dictionary pages. They can be from the reading or from daily life. Turn to the alphabet page in the student book and think of garden vegetables that start with each letter. Possible answers are in the teacher book if you get stuck. Composition. Write the rough draft of your story on scratch paper. The teacher book walks you through the process in detail of turning your 3 sentences into a story. For example, students have learned about adjectives, so you might add some descriptive details. Day 4, reading. Read the Aesop's fable, The Dog and His Reflection. Either you or your child can read it, or you can share the reading. Discuss the moral and how you can apply this to your life. Grammar. In the student book, underline adjectives and circle compound words in the 4 sentences shown. Composition. Complete the final draft of your fable in your composition book. Focus on conveying the moral, capitals and punctuation, and adding any details you choose. Day 5. This is your free day. You might reread the book or fable or take a day off. Extension activity ideas include reading more books by Beatrix Potter, discussing the morals of other stories you know, read about rabbits, plant something, or make a scarecrow. Your kinesthetic learners would have fun with this idea. Let's take a look at Grade 2. In Grade 2, we'll read 22 picture books followed by 4 chapter books. We're looking at Week 10 in detail, and our book this week is Anatole. Day 1, reading. Anatole has a few French phrases you can practice with phonetic guidance in the teacher book. As a former French teacher, I found the pronunciation helps quite accurate. Read Anatole with your child, then read the questions and write their responses in the teacher guide. Grammar. Introduce the terms salutation and closing in reference to writing a letter. Composition. Look at the letter in the student book. Monsieur Duval writes Anatole. Add commas and capitalize as needed. You'll be writing a friendly letter this week. Choose a recipient and a topic. Think about what the recipient would like to read about. Day 2, reading. Read the story using the guidelines in the teacher book of story, character, setting, external details, internal details, and conflict. Grammar. Learn to properly address an envelope in the workbook. Practice identifying state abbreviations. If handwriting is not neat enough yet, they can dictate to you. Composition. Briefly summarize the story of Anatole in the student book. Write what you think of the story and choose your favorite sentence to copy. For your own friendly letter, list 5 things to say about your chosen topic. Think about extra details you can add and remember to consider what the other person will find interesting. Day 3, reading. Read Anatole with your child again. Read the questions and write the responses in the teacher guide. For grammar, choose 5 to 10 words from the story to put in your dictionary pages. Try to choose words that are new to you. Diagram the 3 sentences in the student book. Composition. Write a rough draft of your friendly letter. Discuss how the sentences should sound. Remember to think about the reader of the letter. Day 4, reading. Read the rest of Chapter 5 of Winnie the Pooh. Ask the questions from the teacher book. Wait, we were reading Anatole. Where did Pooh Bear come from? This sounds a bit out of place, but for the first 20 weeks, on every day 4, you're reading half a chapter of Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh and Just So stories are optional literature resources used to give a child more exposure to classic literature. Grammar. Learn to write and format a postscript on a letter. In the student book, make corrections to the letter to Gaston. Composition. Review the rough draft together, asking questions from the teacher guide. Complete the final draft of your letter and address the envelope. If this is too stressful, you can finish it tomorrow. If it's ready, mail your letter. You might put a copy of the letter in your composition book first. Day 5. This is your free day to finish anything you need to or reread the story. For enrichment, you might read more books by the author Eve Titus, learn more about Paris or France, have a cheese tasting, and make a list of adjectives in response to the cheeses. In Grade 3, we have 7 read-alouds and some books to read independently. You'll spend between 2 and 7 weeks on a book. Day 1, reading. This is the first of 4 chapters on poetry. These lessons are structured a bit differently. Where we would typically have a grammar lesson, we'll learn poetry terms to deepen our understanding. There are 8 poems this week, and your child should choose 1 poem to memorize. Read the poems and ask the questions from the teacher book. You'll note their answers in the teacher book still. Focus on unfamiliar words, introduce some basic poetry terms, and complete the workbook page. Composition. Your assignment this week is to choose 1 poem to rewrite in prose. Tips are in the teacher book. Day 2, reading. Continue to memorize your selected poem. Focus on the first half of the poem and recite it several times today. Read the poems again and ask the questions from the teacher book, which focus on poetry terms. You'll record their answers in the teacher book. Complete the workbook exercise. Composition. Make a first attempt at rewriting your chosen poem into prose. Use the example and guidance in the teacher book. Day 3 reading. Practice memorizing the first 3/4 of your poem. Read the poems again today and focus on the meanings. Ask the questions in the teacher book and record answers. Analyze the poem, The Snowflake, by completing the questions in the workbook. Answers are in the teacher book. Composition. Rework or add to yesterday's rough draft of turning a poem into prose. There's a good example in the teacher guide. An extra challenge is presented here. Have your student write another paragraph detailing how their prose version is different from the original poem. Day 4, reading. Finish memorizing your chosen poem. Read the biography of Christina Rossetti in the student book. Choose 5 to 10 words to put in your dictionary pages. Write a word, definition, and a sample sentence. Composition. Review the rough draft together, asking questions from the teacher book. Complete your final draft. Ask if their version expresses the same meaning as the poem. Complete the word grid in the student book and then choose a poem and reply to the 3 questions about why you like it. Day 5, this is your free day. Some children will find the basic meaning of a poem more easily than others. If you need more practice, there's a list of poems in the teacher guide you can use. Extension activities include watching leaves blow in the wind and describing them, or possibly take a train ride and compare your observations to those of R.L. Stevenson. In grade 4, your student will read 12 books, including several with a multicultural element, 1 being nonfiction, and 2 written as poems. Day 1 reading. Read chapters 1 to 3 of Where the Mountain Meets the Moon and answer these 3 questions in the student book. This story will take 4 weeks to complete. Grammar. Review what we've learned so far. Noun, verb, adjective, adverb, pronoun, article, and coordinating junction. Read the sentence from the story and complete the exercise in the student book. You have 1 sentence to diagram. Composition. You'll be writing a paper about your own cultural heritage over the next 2 weeks. Choose a culture to explore and brainstorm as many aspects as you can, anything from food and folktales to recent and ancient history. Day 2 reading. Read chapters 4 to 7 of the story and answer the 4 questions in the workbook. Answers are in the teacher guide. Grammar. More review of what we've learned. Read the sentence from the story and answer these grammar questions, then diagram a short sentence. Composition. Narrow your list of ideas to about 2 to 4 subtopics. You might choose related topics or at least think about how one topic will lead into the other. Create a simple outline. There's some good guidance for this in the teacher book. Day 3 reading. Read chapters 8 to 11 of the story. Answer these 5 questions. Grammar, yet more review of sentence types and parts of speech using a sentence from the current story. Composition, begin your research of chosen subtopics. Gather more than you expect to use. Take clear notes on all information you find. You should have 1/3 to 1/2 of the final paper researched. Day 4 reading. Read chapters 12 to 14 and answer 3 questions. Grammar. The last review of the week has you reading a passage and answering 5 grammatical questions. You'll also diagram a short sentence. Composition. Finish the research for your cultural paper. Day 5. This is a free day to use as you choose. You could finish any work from the week or take a day off from language arts. An idea for extending the lesson and learning about China is in the teacher book. Let's look at grade 5 now. Your student will read 9 novels and do 4 poetry units found in the work text. Day 1 reading. The book for the week is Boy, Tales of Childhood by Roald Dahl. Read pages 11 to 23 of Boy and answer the comprehension questions in the workbook. Answers are in the teacher guide. Grammar. Learn to diagram dependent clauses. Do the 3 sentences in the workbook. The teacher guide makes this easy to do even if you're not familiar with diagramming. Composition. This week and next, you're writing an autobiography. Today, brainstorm a list of ideas to include in your paper. Day 2 reading. Read pages 27 to 37 of Boy and answer the comprehension questions. Answers will vary, but there are possible answers in the teacher guide. Grammar. Learn about run-on sentences and comma splices. Identify and fix the 9 problem sentences in the exercise and mark the correct sentences with a C. One correct answer is shown in the teacher book, but there are other possibilities. Composition. Create an outline for your paper. Make it chronological, just like the author does. Determine how you want to address other people who are part of your life story. Day 3 reading. Read pages 38 to 52 and answer the 3 questions in the student book. Grammar. There are no grammar questions today, but you will learn about narrative writing. Apply these ideas to your paper. Composition. Do any necessary research for your paper and begin writing. Be sure you're getting your facts straight. You will write this week and revise next week. Day 4 reading. Read pages 53 to 71 and answer the comprehension questions in the workbook. Grammar. No grammar lesson today. Work on your paper instead. Composition. Finish the rough draft of your autobiography. There's guidance in the student book about choosing a focus, writing dialogue, and how to describe people and things. Day 5, if you'd like to extend the lesson, do a study of Norway, Wales, or England. Perhaps make some candy or a dinner similar to the one at the author's grandparents' house. Let's have a look at grade 6. Your student will read 8 novels and do 4 poetry units found in the work text. Day 1, reading. This is the second week of reading The Wednesday Wars. Pick up from last week and read pages 86 to 100. Answer the comprehension questions in the workbook. Grammar, we're focusing on persuasive papers. Learn to tell the difference between fact and opinion. Complete the workbook exercise. Composition, you're writing an essay about someone you know. This is week 2 of this assignment. Review your rough draft from last week, focusing on description and action. There are questions in the teacher book you can ask your student. Day 2 reading. Read pages 101 to 114 and answer the 2 comprehension questions in the workbook. Grammar. Discuss what makes a good topic for a persuasive paper. Particularly, discuss the importance of factual support. Complete the workbook exercise. Composition. Revise your rough draft with a focus on speech and others' opinions. There are specific points in the teacher book to discuss with your student. Day 3 reading. Read pages 114 to 129 of the novel and answer the 1 question asked today. Answers will vary. Grammar. We'll discuss emotional arguments. In the workbook exercise, identify words that make a sentence emotional. Composition. Today you'll focus on your own thoughts about your chosen person. You can scatter these throughout or use them in a concluding paragraph. You should have an improved rough draft at the end of the day. Day 4 reading. Read pages 130 to 155 and answer the 2 comprehension questions. Grammar. Today we learn anticipating arguments. In the workbook, choose the better sentence in the pairs shown. Opinions will likely vary and lead to some interesting discussion. Composition. Write your final draft today. Check that all grammar and mechanics you have learned so far is correct. Day 5. Finish anything that needs done or take a day off. An extension idea is to learn more about some famous baseball players like Mickey Mantle, Joe Pepitone, and Horace Clark. You might listen to music by Pete Seeger. Mrs. Baker and Holling, 2 characters from the novel, are reading Shakespeare plays together. If you want to read along with them, this week they are on Macbeth and Romeo and Juliet. With that, grade 6 is the last level of the elementary years. You can continue to grade 7 and 8, even into high school. Lightning Literature is a comprehensive language arts curriculum with rich reading selections and well-constructed parents' guidance. It's not overwhelming and really engages students with literature, vocabulary, grammar usage mechanics, and composition. The program adapts to your learner with flexible expectations and an extra day to finish things up. You can go to any of the levels on our website to see more sample pages. If you have more questions on Lightning Lit or other curriculum, remember you can call our free consultants at 888-841-3456 Monday to Friday 8:30 to 5 Central Time. Chat with us online at the website or feel free to email any questions to consultants@rainbowresource.com.